Okay, Stephanie Stewart is a newly licensed prayer practitioner. She and I went through classes together. We have a great friendship going for us, and I totally love Stephanie, and here she is.
And they're both great teachers. And Becky.
Yeah, you sound okay. Okay. Oh, good. We're all set up. Okay. So again, Michael, thank you. That was just really wonderful. There were some really, really terrific final projects for that class from whence we came, but we all kind of went wild over Michael's meditation. It was the last project presented, and it was just a really great way to close out the class. I also want to take a moment and embarrass Linda. Linda is not just my prayer partner, she is one of my best friends, and yesterday was her birthday. She's 38, right? 38. There are a lot of people laughing. I don't think that's nice. So, for those of you that don't know, I am by trade a massage therapist. I have a small practice a little north of here. We've been in business about 14 years. And a few weeks ago, I had a client come in, and she's just a very sweet lady. She's a retired kindergarten teacher and very involved in her own church, but I see her sort of irregularly now. She travels a lot. So she came in to get a massage, and we were just sort of catching up. She asked how my first talk had gone in December, and as we caught up, I mentioned that I was speaking again today. I've been asked to speak again today, and she said, "Oh my, that's Palm Sunday." And I sat up a little straighter in my chair, and I smiled, and I said, "Yes, it is." The whole time I'm thinking, what's that? Reverend Cece didn't say anything about that. Do Baptists do that? I don't remember my parents talking about a Palm Sunday. But to be honest, I mean, our Easters were so sort of accidentally pagan that we might as well have danced naked around a bonfire built into a cauldron in our backyard. So I look to my left where I have a calendar hanging next to my desk, and sure enough, there it is, Palm Sunday. And the first day of spring, which to contemporary pagans, of course, is Ostara. And then I see on Wednesday is the Hindu holiday of Holi. And then on Thursday is the Jewish holiday of Purim. And then, of course, we have Good Friday and Easter. And I'm going, Christianity, paganism, Hinduism, Judaism. Reverend Cece really knows when to take a day off. So I'm wearing pink for spring and fleece because it's spring in Ohio. Last week, Reverend Cece ended her talk with the words, "Now just go out and do it." And this made me chuckle. Because in the 3 weeks prior to me speaking in December, it felt to me like Reverend Cece her talks were progressing from that deep inner work that we all need to do, closer and closer to the surface, if you will, closer and closer to our faith in action. And it culminated in me standing up here looking at all of you saying, "So what is yours to do today?" So I think I've been set up again. It's like Reverend Cece is this wonderful sort of, like a philosophy or a history or even a literature professor. She makes you work for it, She gives you these tools and hints to deepen your thinking and your contemplation in your mind. But then you have to work for your truth, too. Mm-hmm. And so I can't help but think that makes me the gym teacher. That I stand up here and I put my size 10 in your collective backside, and I say, "Look, you've got this. Just go out and play, okay? Don't come back until the bell rings." I know, the lesbian gym teacher, okay? But let it all go. So the title of today's encouragement is Don't Bring Me Down. And of course I'm talking about what we always talk about here, our thoughts. What are we thinking about? What are we focused on? What is that little voice that's always running inside your head? I read a book once that called it The Insane Roommate. What's it saying to you? What is your self-talk like? What are you telling yourself at any given moment? How aware are you of that running commentary? Is it speaking truth, or is it speaking garbage? What is the experience you want to have of life? That's really the big question, isn't it? That's like the quintessential question. Do you want it to be rich in all ways, full and joyous? Well, duh, Steph, yeah. So what are you focused on then? What do you believe? These are big questions that we don't ask ourselves all that often, but they're good questions to ask. They can be very revealing about what we're thinking. What am I focused on? What do I believe is true about me? What do I believe is true for me? The spiritual hammer, Emma Curtis Hopkins, said, "There is good for me, and I ought to have it." Do you believe that? Do you believe that for yourself? Do you have faith that there are good things for you that you ought to have? I feel like questions like this always garner one of two responses. People go, yeah. Or they go, crap. Now obviously that oh crap answer tends to be a little more introspective. But it affords us a moment to stop and evaluate what we are really thinking about. What experience do I want to have of life? What do I think I deserve? And that's such a loaded word for so many of us, deserve. What experience of life are you having right now? Ernest Holmes told us that if we want to know what we're thinking about, look at the conditions of our lives. I just think that most of us want to believe it's not that easy. We don't want to believe that we can see very clearly what is on repeat in our own heads by simply looking around at what's happening in our lives. But it is that easy. What's more, we really can change our lives by changing our minds. And on an even bigger scale, we can and we are changing the world. Don't bring me down. A question was asked here in a class here at the center recently. When do you feel your faith is strongest? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I'd never considered it before. It's a great question. And so I had to sit with it for a little bit. And the answer that came up kind of surprised me. My faith is strongest in conflict. My faith is strongest when people around me, I believe unintentionally, are trying to bring my thoughts down. Look at how awful everything is. Look at all the monsters in the world. We're destroying everything. Where are we going and why are we in this handbasket? There's just something in me that rises up and says, no. There's something that rises up and says, there is good here and we ought to have it. There is good here and I choose to find it. We have to become aware of our limiting thoughts and then raise them higher and ask ourselves, what is the best we can see for this situation? God, as good, is present here. So very recently I had the opportunity to listen to probably the wisest person I have ever had the good fortune to spend any amount of time with talk about how they just didn't have time for negative thoughts in their life anymore. They reminded me that a trained mind is a powerful mind, and that we are all indeed very powerful. Now, right now, each of you is either saying yes to that, or you're saying, Like the first time I heard thoughts are things in foundations class, I completely freaked out. I thought, how am I supposed to think puppies and kittens, puppies and kittens, puppies and kittens for the rest of my life and get anything done? Some of you are laughing because you've had that exact same moment. But what I found is that more than directing my thoughts, it's being aware of what's already going on in here that is of utmost importance for me. You're not going to manifest a new car or a new relationship or a new house or world peace if the constant rutted thought in your head is, you don't deserve that. When I say don't bring me down, I know I am the most important person in that equation. I can bring my own thoughts down from the highest and best good for myself and the world around me faster than anyone anywhere else. Do you ever wonder what that practitioner sitting in the back corner is doing during Sunday service? Today it is the luminous Marge Russell. I will reveal to you that that activity is not mentioned anywhere in any workbook, anywhere in practitioner training that I saw. I had so much anxiety over doing that finally in the middle of my second year of practitioner training, I looked at Reverend Cece and I said, look, if you don't tell me what to do, if you don't tell me what you did when you were a practitioner and you did that, I will take a nap on purpose. What Marge is doing for us right now, and what a practitioner does every time they sit back there for us, holding vigil, holding the high watch, this is what I'm asking you all to do for yourselves the rest of the time. That practitioner is keeping their thoughts on the highest and best for all of us in this moment, in this space. They know our perfection. They know the perfection of this moment. These are the highest thoughts for this time and space. There is good for us. We can choose our experience of life at any time. These are the thoughts that allow us to each shine bright. It's the very best of every situation. And yes, it can be difficult to hold the high watch for yourself. I did look up Palm Sunday. And if you're as unfamiliar as I was, it marks the beginning of Christianity's Holy Week, which of course ends with the death and the resurrection of Jesus. Death is the hardest thing to live with. We try to hold on, even when we know we shouldn't, even when we know it doesn't serve us anymore. When death enters our life, we are changed irrevocably. Whether it's a loved one or a physical ability or a job or a relationship or any one of the countless things that live in us and then have to die in us, our image of who we are changes, and we can't get the old image back. Death asks faith of us. What is the experience I want to have of my life now? Where is the good here? What is the highest and best thought? Death asks courage of us. Can I let go and be patient? Leave room for resurrection. Ostara and Holi celebrate the blooming of spring. Can I allow for a new blooming of who I am? For 5 years, I planned on becoming a hospital chaplain. The education road changed a few times, but it finally became clear that I could become a practitioner, go through 15 more months of education through our organization, and I would be a certified chaplain. And I couldn't get in. Spots in 3 different cohorts opened up, and the door kept closing on me. And I was miserable. And I was miserable to be around. I didn't know how to let it go. It had become such a central part of the way I envisioned myself. It was just a part of who I was. And I didn't know what to do until one day, I didn't know how to let it go. And one day it just hurt so much. I was so angry that it just kind of did. I said, you know what? This isn't something I can control. And I don't understand. But there is good in this life that is mine, and I will have it right now, thank you very much. And 3 days later, Reverend Cece asked me if I would consider going to ministerial school instead. That she was going to apply to turn our center into a regional campus, and it would make it much more affordable. What bloomed was more than I could ever have imagined. But thinking the highest thoughts for myself and my situation allowed the space for the blooming. That is the power we each possess. When we keep our own high watch, we change our own lives. And when we change our own lives, we do indeed change the world. And if you need proof that the highest thoughts can expand outside of you and change the world and everyone around you, I have 3 words for you. Black Lives Matter. I have no idea why this movement has finally caught on with white people. It's not like black people are suddenly saying, hey, stop killing us, end racism. I have no idea why we're finally paying attention, but thank God we are. I will speak for myself. I will tell you how the Black Lives Matter movement has changed me. Now, I had long understood that my experience of America was vastly different from the experience of America for a black person, or any person of color for that matter. But until Ferguson, I did not understand the systemic violence. I didn't even understand the microaggressions, those little things that are inflicted because society says, that's just the way it is. And then the first time I heard someone say, Black Lives Matter too, you know. I thought, well, of course they do. Why would anyone have to say that? And all of those images of Ferguson flashed through my mind, and I thought, my God, what have I been participating in? Unwittingly, blindly, what am I participating in now? When am I doing it? How am I doing it? What is my inner Donald Trump saying to me? I couldn't see it. I wanted to see it, but I couldn't see it. The Black Lives Matter movement has taught me that I have to shut up and listen if I want to see the ways that I participate in the systemic racial oppression present in our culture. And the more clearly I see, the more I can make a better choice. I can choose otherwise. A group of people on some level said, I've had enough of this experience of life, and I will have a different experience of life now. There is good for me, and no matter what society has taught anyone, I ought to have that good that is mine. And we have all been raised up because of it. There wasn't anyone anywhere that said, hey, let's start this group and see if we can wake up all the white people. There is good in this world that is theirs, and they ought to have it. I am simply grateful that I have been lifted up by their highest thoughts. That is the power we each possess. You don't have to start a movement to change the world, but you do have to know what's going on up here, and a movement may start anyway. Now, a lot of you chuckled when I mentioned my inner Trump. Everybody else is using him for their own devices, so I'll use him for mine today. I want to practice tapping into our highest and best thoughts, shall we? So Black lives matter, trans lives matter, same-sex couples are valid couples, trust women, there is more than enough for everyone. We are here to help create a world that works for everyone and have everyone know how it works. We're hearing these kinds of things. More and more voices. More and more saying, yes, love is always the right answer. We are all being lifted up because of that. And I guess a few of us are being dragged up. But any movement toward the light of wholeness and unity is positive. And what we can really do now that so much of this is being dragged to the surface is look at it. Really look at it. And know that somewhere this is all a part of us. We're not separate. We're not inseparable. But this ugliness that we're seeing, it doesn't have to harm us. It doesn't have to be the core of who we are. At our core, we're spirit. At our core, we're God. At the core, we are love. This is just our stuff. This is what culture tells us our stuff is. It's not the reality of our beingness. We might be able to talk ourselves into it. If our self-talk says, this is what we deserve, we are in a world of hurt. Thomas Troward, and if you hear cackling right now, that's Reverend Cece somewhere laughing because I'm quoting Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward said, the sincere endeavor to act up to our new mental attitude is essential, for we cannot really think in one way and act in another. If we take the time now to stop and really see clearly our racism, our sexism, our xenophobia, our misdirected rage, our fear, then we can step into our power and choose. We can choose love. We can choose to be the bright and shining expression of spirit we are each here to be, and not worry about someone else having to dim our light. We can choose unity. We can choose wholeness. We can hear our self-talk clearly and choose the highest and best thought for every situation. And so I choose that. I choose that now. There is good for each of us, and we each ought to have it. And that is the experience of life I will have right now. So if you'll take a moment with me now to illuminate our highest thoughts into prayer. So centered in this moment of love, I rejoice. I rejoice that there is no place God is not. Present in each person and in every situation is the wholeness, the allness of spirit. There is nowhere so barren or hopeless that the one is not present in all of its fullness, all of its abundance. The gifts of spirit are always being given. And we are never outside of God. We are never forsaken. Our highest thoughts are God's thoughts. And so I know clarity for each of us here today. I know that we hear our self-talk clearly. I know we see the divine in every situation. And in doing so, we say yes to the highest and best thought of every moment. We say yes to the fullest experience of this, God's life. We say yes to all the good that is ours. We say yes to a world that works for everyone and our place within it, our place in its creation. And I am grateful. I say thank you, God. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for the highest and best thought that is manifested here and now as the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Dayton. I say thank you for the highest and best thought that has manifested here and now as every beautiful soul present today. I say thank you for the glory that is this life, God's life, our lives now. And so I release this prayer into the law, knowing that whatever work I may perceive as needing to be done is in fact already complete. And we say together, and so it is.
Just a thread, a simple thread in this glorious web of life.
We are all just drops within a stream flowing towards an ocean of light. We may forget where we come from. See that you're a reflection of me as much as I'm a reflection of you. I am just a seed, a blessed seed with eternity unfolding in me. And I pray that as I grow, I will reveal the love that illuminates my soul. When I remember where I come from, when I remember where I'm going to, then I will see that you're a reflection of me as much as I'm a reflection of you. Simple prayer, may I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer, may I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer, become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one.
So let's just take a moment and thank Stephanie for such a marvelous job. Great job. So now it's time for us to take a moment to count our blessings, to be grateful for all that we have and are, all that we give from. Think about all you receive from the love that is all around you, and let yourself feel the gratitude that rises up in you. And as the offering basket passes through your hands, please bless the abundance of this whole community. And as we do this, we affirm, gratefully I give.
Gratefully I give.
With an attitude of abundance.
With an attitude of abundance.
I know that as I give.
I know that as I give.
So do I receive.
So do I receive.
Abundantly.
Abundantly.
And so it is.
And so it is.
2, 3, 4.